What's up, you guys? It's Steve here, and there is an assortment of different items right now that's applying pressure to Congress and President Joe Biden to get stuff done for stimulus. And this is your stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and breaking news update. Now, we have record high inflation. We haven't had this in 40 years. Gas prices are soaring. We have a war with Russia and Ukraine, and also we have a food supply chain shortage going on right now globally across the world. We're having issues with food. I reported that to you in my last video. And oh yeah, on top of all that, we're still dealing with the pandemic, and we're hearing a new wave has made its way to the United States. Take a look at some of these articles coming out, you guys. Philadelphia becomes the first major U.S. city to reinstate indoor mask mandates as cases rise. This just coming out yesterday. Pandemic updates. U.S. is watching an uptick in cases very closely right now. And Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, I'll let you know in a previous video, she tested positive. Well, she just tested negative. She is set to exit isolation, and a lot of people in Congress got sick. Now, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, she was actually one of the people that was pushing for gas stimulus checks right before she tested positive. So now she's back out, and we're going to be seeing what legislation Congress is going to be pushing as we have all of these different items taking place, and we're hearing that we are not out of the woods with the majority of these issues, and people are going to be feeling the pain at the pump, pain in the grocery stores. People are still getting sick. They're saying they need more aid, more direct assistance. And on top of all that, this is a midterm election year, and Democrats, they hold the full control in Congress, the House, the Senate, and the presidency, but just by the slimmest of majorities. So if they want to stay in control, they're going to have to persuade voters to keep them in power. And we're hearing they're likely going to be doing that by proposing legislation. We'll see what they can pass. There's a Build Back Better bill on the table. There are 4 bills for gas stimulus checks, an assortment of different items. Now, as far as the pandemic goes, we're hearing that there's a new wave coming. Take a look at this, you guys. 7-day moving average is at 33,000 just yesterday, 50,000 new cases. So it's starting to incline again, but it looks just ever so small next to that last Omicron wave we experienced right at the new year. But we will see. They're watching this closely. And I'm going to be sharing with you in today's video some footage that we received from Dr. Anthony Fauci. And he's going to be letting us know, get vaccinated, get boosted, take care of yourself, because it does look like there is a new wave that is on the way. And we're going to be seeing how they're going to be responding to this. Now, in addition to that, I've got some video footage that's just incredible. And that is, this is really hitting hard right now in China and in Europe. And we've got some video footage of what's taking place in China. They have had a lockdown of 7 days. You cannot leave your house whatsoever. And people are literally screaming from their windows in the middle of the night because they've just been locked up so long, you guys. So I'm going to share with you the latest updates. And as I mentioned, we're going to be seeing how this, coupled with everything else, is going to cause Congress to respond in the form of legislation. So let's go ahead and dive right in, get you caught up on the latest. But before we do, if you could do me a quick favor, and that is, if you appreciate the updates, don't forget to take a quick second to smash that like button. I appreciate it. Helps out the channel a ton. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments. Share this out. If you want to stay up to date, totally free to do so. Come join the Ram fam. Like I said, it's free. Why not? Just smash that subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell. If you got any specific questions for me, hop onto Instagram. Shoot me a DM at SteveRam3. And consider joining my second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance. But with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and dive right into the video footage. And first, we're going to be taking a look at what's happening in China. And then we're going to be hearing from Dr. Anthony Fauci about what we can expect here in the United States with the pandemic. Let's go ahead and take a look.
COVID cases are ticking up across the country, fueled by a highly transmissible Omicron subvariant. High-profile names in the Biden administration and Congress are no exception. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib is the latest House member to contract COVID-19. Meanwhile, 80 people have now tested positive after having attended the annual Gridiron Dinner in Washington on April 2nd. That includes New York Mayor Eric Adams, Attorney General Merrick Garland, and Senator Susan Collins. More than 2 years into the pandemic, with 3 types of vaccines and a lot of COVID fatigue, many Americans are stepping back into public life with more confidence. And yet, questions remain over how to navigate the risks. For Philadelphia, those risks mean the mask mandate is back. It is the first major U.S. city to reimpose a mask mandate for indoor public spaces. amid this latest surge. Joining me now is Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and chief medical advisor to President Biden. Dr. Fauci, it is great to see you again. But usually seeing you again sometimes means I have to discuss bad news with you. And this one is tough because this 80 people testing positive at one event has scared a lot of those of us who are here in the nation's capital. You know, we've got things coming up like the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Should I be afraid? Should we be afraid?
Well, if you are vaccinated, Joy, and boosted, then you are in a very low risk category of getting seriously ill if you get infected. You're protected predominantly against infected, but not nearly as well as we'd like, because the vaccines do much better in protecting against severe disease than it does against infection. So the organizers of these groups do whatever they can to try and mitigate the risk, requiring people to show proof of vaccination and even requiring a test, a negative antigen test, within 24 hours of whatever event we're talking about. So the risk is still very low, but it's not zero. And that's, if you want to get back to some form of normality, you look at the CDC guidelines about giving some broad general framework upon which you can make your choice. But the choice is up to the individual about the level of risk that they're willing to take. I mean, if you are totally risk averse and you don't want to get infected at all, no matter what, for any of a number of reasons, you might have an underlying condition that would make you more likely to get a severe outcome. You might have someone in your home who is a compromised person, so that you might bring it home even if you don't have a symptom. You put all of that into the equation of whether you might want to go to a big dinner or not. Yeah. And that's the individual choice. That's going to be part of living with a level of infection in the community that's not stressing the hospital system, that's not killing a lot of people, that's not sending a lot of people to the hospital, but still people are getting infected. And that's really the name of the game and what it's going to be like. And you just follow it very carefully.
Yeah. You know, it feels like there's sort of mixed messages, right? For those of us who are vaxxed and boosted, right? It feels like the sort of overall message is you can go back to your life. You can go out to dinner, you can do things. But then you hear about people who are mainly vaccinated getting sick, right? And I even know of somebody that I know who passed recently who was vaccinated and boosted. I don't know what underlying conditions they had. But then on the other hand, you have the federal government imminently taking away the mask mandates. The mask mandates, they're trying to decide, the Biden administration is trying to decide whether they should extend the mask mandates, requiring masks on airplanes, trains, and transit hubs. But Philadelphia is putting the mask mandate back on. That feels like a mixed message, and I think I'd be afraid to fly without wearing a mask. Do you think it's wise to even talk about getting rid of the mask mandates on transit?
Well, certainly that is being very actively discussed. And I think what we're dealing with, or I know what we're dealing with, Joy, is that we're dealing with a bit of a moving target. No doubt, when you pull back the way the country has on the requirements for masks, according to the new CDC metrics, we see in other countries like the UK, when you do that in the context of BA2, which is more transmissible than BA1, and you have waning immunity, you have the risk of there seeing an uptick in cases, exactly what they're seeing in the UK and in certain of the European countries. So we're looking at what we're seeing right now. I don't think there's any question you are going to see an uptick. About half of the states in the country are already seeing an increase. It isn't nearly as high to trigger a change in color of the so-called color code, but it's going up. So we really need to see what's going to happen in the next few weeks before you make a decision about pulling back on a mandate for travel like you asked. It may be it'll be kept, or it may be that it'll go up and then things will come down and they'll pull back. I can't tell you what the answer to that is right now.
Yeah, and very quickly before we let you go, if you were over 50 right now, would you get that fourth shot? I mean, if should those over 50 go ahead and get that fourth shot, or should all of us wait?
I recommend you go and get the shot if you are over 50.
All right, then you've heard it from the man himself.
Pretty clear
Dr. Anthony,
recommendation.
very clear. We love clarity. Dr. Anthony Fauci, thank you very much. Really appreciate you.
What is happening in China right now almost beggars belief. The Chinese government is doubling down on its zero COVID approach in the most dystopian of ways. A few weeks ago, Shanghai, China's largest city, began facing the country's worst COVID outbreak since Wuhan in January 2020. And in response, the government imposed its most restrictive lockdown for 2 years. 25 million residents of the nation's financial hub were told they could not leave their homes, their apartments. Government food deliveries have been left at checkpoints to make sure residents have no contact with anyone else. In one video shared on Twitter, you can hear people screaming from their apartments after 7 days of the lockdown. Screaming. People have been running out of food at home, leaving residents dependent on those government food deliveries and online services. Both have been unpredictable, to say the least, leading to a food crisis affecting at least 1 million people, by conservative estimates. What's even more awful about this situation is that the severity of this zero COVID lockdown hasn't led to zero COVID. Shanghai reported more than 25,000 new cases just yesterday.
So there you have it, you guys. Dr. Anthony Fauci on what's happening right now with the U.S. And also we had that video footage of what's happening in China. Now, there is a lot unfolding, I know. You guys, I will keep you up to date so you know everything that's taking place. We've got the war, we've got gas prices, food prices, supply chain issues, the pandemic, everything that's taking place. And Congress, we're watching to see how they're going to be responding to help out at this time. And I will let you know everything as it comes out, so that way you know what's going on and what might be made available to you. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget, take a quick second, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Helps out the channel a ton. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments, share this out. If this is your first time here and you like to stay up to date, totally free, why not? Smash that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, come join the Ram fam. If you got any specific questions for me, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3, and consider joining that second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Keep you up to date on everything going on. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.